What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I just wanted to make a quick video because there are a couple things I just wanted to touch on real quick today. The first thing being Chris Brooks has been activated off of IR, so he has been designated to return. So the Dolphins are only going to have one spot left, although it's not going to matter for too much longer because we're obviously getting towards the end of the regular season, and it's only really for the regular season anyway. So a couple weeks from now, 2-3 weeks from now, they could end up just designating one more person to come back, maybe Isaiah Wynn or something like that. I don't know. I don't know who else is currently on the injured reserve list, but yeah, I mean, it's cool because it obviously would give that running back room a little bit more strength and some potential rotation, especially down the stretch, as the wear and tear of the season, a little bit more fresh legs. I mean, I know he's coming off of an injury, but, he's had some time to rest. Achane should be coming back too. I would think maybe this week, Robert Hunt and Robert Jones should be coming back soon. So, still be getting some more guys and more reinforcements, particularly on that offensive side of the ball. And that's good, especially because Chris Brooks could potentially be used. Not that he would even be used all that much regardless. We did see some stuff out of him in a couple of those games before he got hurt. And some nice plays too, a couple yardage runs. But in particular, I think he'd be most useful in short down yardage, second, third, fourth and short, whatever it is. I think he could be used because he's a bigger body. He's kind of if we have he's the most bruising type of back we have on the roster. So that's interesting. We'll see how that ends up actually playing out. I mean, at this point now, we're going to, we should be basically getting our full complement of running backs back. I mean, Ahmed's has been put on injured reserve and likely will not be back for the remainder of the season. I doubt they would use their last one on him. But it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter because Mostert's having a fantastic year, career year in a lot of ways. You got Achane who should be coming back and hopefully we'll be able to get back into this rotation like officially and for the rest of the season to give us that, extra explosive element out of the backfield. I think Jeff Wilson's been doing some good things since he's come back in the limited time that he's had. And then I do like Chris Brooks, particularly as that third down back or that short yardage back or, so on and so forth. So that's the first bit of information. I think that's cool and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Good news for the Dolphins. But I'll get into, and by the way, when I do my preview video for the Commanders game, likely on Friday, I'll get into more of the injuries for the entire team. But there are a couple things I did want to touch on. So, and that being one of them. The other thing is I do want to talk a little bit about just really quick this Aaron Rodgers situation because Aaron Rodgers has been returned. I mean, I know it's obviously the Jets, and from what I've seen, it shouldn't really affect the Dolphins regardless because from what I've been seeing, he's looking to return the game after the Dolphins. So whoever it is that they play after us in a couple weeks, because we have the Commanders this week, then the Titans at home, and then the Jets at home, right? So, and from what I've heard, he's eyeing the game after that to come back. And, his window just opened today, so that gives him 3 weeks. So that would be the next 3 weeks, right? That would be for us. That's the Commanders, Titans, and Jets. Now, if they don't activate him, then he's done for the season at that point regardless. So they're going to have to activate. I would imagine they're going to be activating him because I don't think they're going to go through all this whole motion. And he was actually at practice throwing the ball. We've seen him on the sidelines and so on and so forth. So I would expect him to be back at some point. But I think it's fucking silly and I think it's stupid and I don't think it's worth the risk in my opinion, particularly because of that offensive line. I mean, look, he's about to be 40 years old, coming off an Achilles tear. And it will, tie into the last thing I want to talk about, though, because he did get a revolutionary or I guess it's been, from what I've been hearing, it's a procedure that has been out for a while, but it is still pretty new overall in terms of, modern medicine and things like that and medicine in general. And it's not something that's been practiced a lot because, it hasn't been done a lot so far throughout medical history and not a lot of people, may have, or people may not have a lot of trust in it at this point because it hasn't been done a lot. But, and I think it could be, and I'll get into this more in a minute, but, well, I guess I'll just go ahead and say it. The other thing I wanted to talk about is Jaelan Phillips, I guess, had put out on social media that he had surgery and it went well, and he's going to, jump right into the whole rehab process. Now, here's the thing, right? So, and the tie-in to those two things is because I know Aaron Rodgers apparently had reached out to Jaelan Phillips. Now, I don't know if he got the same kind of surgery or not. I haven't seen reports on that and whether or not it was the same kind of surgery. I watched some shows today that had reported, and one of the shows I had watched, or a couple of them, had reported that Jaelan Phillips put out on social media that things went well. So that's about the extent of it that we have today. Obviously we'll keep updates as they come. But it would be interesting. And the tie-in would be that not only did Aaron Rodgers reach out to him, but if he did have the same surgery and Aaron Rodgers came back in 3 months, there is some reasonable chance, and I guess some Dolphins fans would maybe potentially talk about this, and Jaelan Phillips is obviously a lot younger than Aaron Rodgers, so that could potentially speed up, his recovery comparative to Aaron Rodgers. But if Aaron Rodgers does come back, in a handful of weeks, and I was going to say if he plays well, but I guess at the very least, if he can play and it doesn't seem as if the Achilles is a hindrance at all, then it could give rise to the hope that maybe Jaelan Phillips, if he had that same surgery, could end up coming back in 3 months. And I don't know if people know this, but 3 months would be, it would be super tight, but it would be fucking Super Bowl time. Now, I said in my last video that he's likely out for the season regardless and whatever. And then I ended it with, because it was the Hard Knocks video recap, and I ended it with saying, you know what, damn it, this fucking team is just going to use that as extra fire. They're going to get to the Super Bowl and blah, 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 and they're going to win it. And I hope that's true, and I think it's possible, and I want to see that happen and get Phillips a ring. And part of that I said, though, is regardless, he's going to be on the sideline with his brothers for that. Look, I mean, that would be a tall tale, a tall order. It'd be crazy. It would be an outrageous thing, especially because Hard Knocks is following this team. And if something like that, look, I'm not saying this because I think it's really, I don't think there's any real possibility or probability of it. And it would take for the Dolphins to make it to the Super Bowl for it to even be a scratch, a hint, a sniff at possibility. But Aaron Rodgers looks like he's coming back. And, it could, I expect, again, since they opened his window, I expect that they're going to activate him. Why would they do that if they're not going to activate him at some point? Now, part of the current question is will it be the entire 3 weeks? Will they, will he not come back? Will he not be activated and they'll just kind of slowly bring him along for the next 3 weeks? And then he does come back for the game after the Dolphins rematch? Maybe. Does he come back sooner? Maybe. I don't know. It's this whole situation is crazy, and it's certainly breaking the mold for how this sort of thing generally happens, because Achilles injuries are pretty fucking major, and he's old as fuck for an NFL player at this point. So all of it's just, it's hard to speculate on, honestly, but if he comes back and at least shows and proves that, the Achilles is not a problem, for the if he comes back at any point and then plays the remainder of the season, that's, for me, the one thing that's really interesting, because I don't think he should at all. I think it's fucking stupid, and just to kind of wrap up that point before I finish on Jaelan Phillips and that potential maybe is that I think it's fucking stupid, especially with the way that offensive line is right now. Look, here's the thing. You know, because there's all this debate about, Hackett and is he good? Look, I think Hackett probably fucking I believe when people say that Hackett is nothing without Rodgers, 100% I believe that. I think throughout his history in the league, I think that seems like it's a reasonable thing to surmise. Now, especially this year with what's transpired without Rodgers being there, right? So, but having said that, I think that if Rodgers was on the field, nobody would be talking about Hackett. And the reason why is not because Hackett's really necessarily any good, but because Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. And because I also agree with people when they say that it doesn't matter what Nathaniel Hackett calls. Aaron Rodgers is going to call whatever fucking play that he wants to call on the field. And he can do that because of the player that he is. Not just because of his experience, although that is a major part of it, but because he's gotten so good over the years and through that experience of being able to read defenses, adjust alignments, understanding, rushers, where they're coming from, all those different things, getting the ball out quick. He does understand the offense. But look, I mean, at the end of the day, the Jets are in a really tough situation because in a lot of ways they are being handicapped by Aaron Rodgers, bringing in Randall Cobb, Allen Lazard, Tim Boyle, Nathaniel Hackett, and it's just become a giant mess and a clown show. Aaron Rodgers is an amazing quarterback, but I think he's another one of those guys that has been given, all this GM power and shouldn't have it. You know what I'm saying? And he has way too much say. From the coaching perspective, Bill Belichick is an example of that, right? He's an awful GM. Awful GM. He's one of the better coaches, although, again, and to reiterate another point I've made, is he was a great coach for the era that he coached in. The new NFL, he's a terrible fucking coach. And that's why none of Bill Belichick's disciples, with the one exception of Mike Vrabel, but Mike Vrabel has a completely different coaching style and is very much a player's coach, and Bill Belichick is not, right? But Bill Belichick and predominantly Josh McDaniels, Brian Flores, fucking Matt Patricia, they all failed when they went to be head coaches because they're not good coaches. They're not good head coaches for sure, but they're not good coaches for the new style and new day of the NFL, where players are starting to be treated and looked at in a lot more like human beings as opposed to just fucking cattle, as opposed to fucking dollar signs, as opposed to fucking commodities and that kind of bullshit, right? So, they're outdated, their style. So, but anyway, bad GMs, absolutely bad GMs, and they're super hamstrung. And look, the other side of it is, okay, sure, maybe Aaron Rodgers does come back, at some point. Let's say he meets the goal that he meets or that he wants and comes back for the game after the Dolphins rematch, whoever they're playing. I don't know what their schedule is. I just know the target is supposed to be for that game. And so in other words, after his go through the 3-week, window, get back to practicing, test it out, blah, blah, blah. But look, dude, there's a chance that he could end up hurting it again. Or even for that matter, maybe the Achilles is fine, but maybe he gets hurt in some other way, knock on wood, and you hope not. But that offensive line is awful. It is fucking awful. So I just don't think, and look, the thing is I think the Jets, and again, part of why I say they're hamstrung by him and held hostage and stuff is because I think they're going to be running it back. I think you're going to see, but not only do I think that they're going to run it back, but I think they're going to double down on the Aaron Rodgers stuff, unless he plays again this season and then gets hurt again in some major way, right? But that's certainly possible. He's old. The offensive line is absolutely garbage. And he's coming off of a fucking major injury as it is. So I think it's stupid to fucking play him, but we'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm not a Jets fan, so from a Dolphins fan perspective, I just love it because for once, it's not the Dolphins who are a dysfunctional organization, and I love it. But that's also part of the reason why I actually do have hopes, aspirations, realistically in my mind, for this Dolphins team to do, to make a deep push into the playoffs, not just win a game, but make a deep push and think that they can make it to the Super Bowl. Especially if they do find a way to get that #1 seed, which is still possible, and they are still in the mix for. So anyway, and then, just to tie it up with Jaelan Phillips, if they do, and if he did get that same surgery, based off of the timetable that Aaron Rodgers came back, it wouldn't be all that unrealistic for Jaelan Phillips to come back. Now, the thing is, though, is Jaelan Phillips was put on the injured reserve. So they would have to, but I see, and that's the one thing about it that you could stop and be like, okay, that right there means he's not coming back. Because I don't see them, regardless of what kind of surgery he got or whatever, just because of the fact that I don't see them using their last injured reserve designation on him, because I don't think he would really be anywhere. I don't know. I guess we'll see. I guess if there is some potential that he could be ready at that time, 3 months from now, right? Because December, January, and well, I mean, it's a little over 2 months. So it would be super tight. I don't know, whatever. Again, it's not likely to happen. I'm not saying it as if it's likely to happen. It's just a thought that would permeate through people's brains, and that, that sort of thing. And it's a thought that, obviously is in my head because I am talking about it. I don't think it's very probable, though. So I wouldn't get your hopes up for that, especially because he was put on the injured reserve. And it's very unlikely that that last and final designation would be used on him. But we'll see. And obviously they did bring in JPP, Jason Pierre-Paul, and have Emmanuel Ogbah and Van Ginkel who can take on, that role and so on and so forth. So I think they'll be fine on the defensive side of the ball. But anyway, that's all I got for you. I just wanted to talk a little bit about Chris Brooks, Aaron Rodgers, and the Jets. And of course, Jaelan Phillips, give you the update on that too, because he did have surgery. And according to him, it was a success, and he is now going to begin the journey of rehab, which I would expect them to chronicle at least to some degree in Hard Knocks for the remainder of the season. Just because, it's obviously this last episode was basically all him, or like half of it was dedicated to him. So I can't imagine that they're going to do, I can't imagine that they would do that and then not, at least have some follow-ups throughout the remainder of the NFL season and the playoffs. Because, obviously I expect the Dolphins to be in the playoffs. Regardless of how far they go, I expect them to be in the playoffs. So, you can expect Hard Knocks to be following us throughout the entirety of it. But anyway, with that, I'm going to wrap it up, get out of here. Make sure you, like my video, share it, all that good stuff. Leave comments. I try and, as long as they're not ridiculous, like, disrespectful or like outrageous, outlandish comments, I generally tend to reply to pretty much all of them in some form or fashion, even if it's just giving the little heart, because I usually don't hit the like or the thumbs up. I usually hit the heart. I give people the heart for their comments. So yeah, anyway, hit the like button, subscribe and all that stuff, because I am trying to draw Jesus Christ, man, and now I can't fucking talk at all. Trying to grow my channel. Anyway, so do that. I would very much appreciate it. Hit the like button, subscribe, leave comments and all that good stuff. So anyway, fins up, guys, and I will see y'all soon.
7 seconds left. Tannehill will throw it. And this will end it after the shutout. Taken place here in South Florida. The Dolphins have done it. They keep their season alive. 69 yards. Wow. Pure joy. Miami wins it.